You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome back into another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast. Joined by Brett once again. Brett, welcome in.
Glad to be back. Talk Penn State football.
Yeah, how's your night going?
Well, not too bad, man. Just chilling for the most part.
Yeah, so a couple stories I want to talk about. Starting with, well, we had some guys that were ranked in the power rankings this week. The latest playoff picture is kind of upon us now, and I'm gonna pull that up too. But this story, first of all, this is one thing that kind of intrigued me a little bit. Was this dude from Alabama, and what he did / said. Apparently he slid into daughter's DM, and and then he was suspended from the team. We don't know how true this is. We talked about how we weren't sure if it was real or not, but that was kind of odd, I guess. But it's kind of it's blowing up right now, right, Brett?
That was the only post I saw from it. So I saw he was suspended from the team a couple days ago on somebody else's post, but this was the only page that posted this exact story that I've seen. So that's why I'm I don't really know.
Well, how about that story that I sent you? And I don't think it has any truth to it at all. It was about Drew Aller.
Yeah, that was fake. So that one might even be fake for Alabama. I'm not sure.
I saw I sent you a picture of it, right? And I was like, and I've only seen it on Facebook. I'm never really on Facebook, but I only saw it on Facebook, and it was just such an odd.
Yeah.
It was just such an odd picture, or it was just such an odd story / picture.
It was an old picture for sure.
Yeah, so the picture was them at their prom. But it said, okay, so I'm just gonna pull it up here. Hold on. All right, when I screenshot it, I was watching Steven Crowder. But so it said that basically, after a strong victory by Penn State, Drew Aller successfully proposed to his girlfriend, Emma Bush, a lavish gift of $150,000. They're trying to get married after the season end and welcome their first child. And it says blessings. It's a good thing that all these fans are blessing them. I don't know what they would do without that. But if Karen on Facebook didn't give him the blessing, then I don't know if they would even get married. What do you think about that?
Sounds about right.
And then we got this quarterback who committed to Colorado. I think he flipped from LSU. But
USC.
Julian Lewis has committed to Colorado. 6 foot, 185 pound QB from Carrollton, Georgia. Or you flipped from USC. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The other one today. The one that flipped in Michigan.
We've got
Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, so 5-star plus QB Bryce Underwood has flipped for his commit from LSU to Michigan. That's the LSU guy. Number one recruit in the 25 class, been committed to the Tigers since January.
Yep.
I guess they gave him a boatload of money. I would assume that's
10,
why.
10 million.
10 million, 10.5 million, which is a ton of money. And I think that's
Insane.
coming from Dave Portnoy, right?
Yeah, he's a Michigan fan. He got it to go. I don't know how much of it's really his, but probably something.
Yeah. And then last story before we get into Minnesota, just want to talk. Well, man, this dude that I sent you, this freak, Jakeem Stewart,
Yeah.
2025. Man, he's what? Like, what'd they say he was? 6'5"?
Yeah, I think so.
Look at him. That kid's in high school. Like, what the?
Yep.
Like, how is that even like?
Yeah, he's huge. He's eating good down from wherever the heck he's from.
Visiting Ohio State, of course.
Yep.
I mean, why wouldn't he? Wearing Ohio State gloves. He must be going to Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of like Abdul Carter, like the way he moves, and I mean, that's a big dude. But yeah. So the rich get richer. If he goes to Ohio State, I mean, that's obviously sucks for us, but kind of used to it at this point.
I mean, we have good defensive commits, so that's never been the issue.
Yeah. But then we got the rankings. So people are mad, of course. We stay at 4, Indiana's 5, on and on and on. But right now, so I was listening to Sirius XM today. They were talking about the playoff picture if Indiana beats Ohio State, which Indiana. So say Indiana jumps Ohio State or beats them, they're definitely jumping us. So they're going to get at least the 5th seed. And right now, what we're looking at, the way Sirius was talking about it, I think if Indiana beats Ohio State, then Indiana is absolutely going to get the 5 seed, I would assume. Ohio State would be out. They'd be cooked. They'd be done. Because then it'd be pretty much Oregon, Indiana in the Big Ten title game. And then it would be us at 6. But pretty much what they were saying is whether we're at 5 or 6, we could end up with like Colorado or BYU, and then we would drop into Boise State. And that would be a crazy kind of transition for us.
Yeah.
Through those first 2 games. Now, if that gets us to the top 4, so be it. But I'll say this right now. If we play Georgia, there's no way we're winning that. I don't think there's even a slight chance that we beat Georgia, even at home.
It depends what Georgia we get. It just depends. If we get Carson back 3 interceptions, then yeah, we could win. But Carson Beck played good last week, but that's the first week he's looked moderately. Even when they beat Texas, he threw 3 picks or 4 picks that game. So it depends what type of Georgia we get, but you're right. I don't want to play Georgia because they're a scary defense to face, especially with our offense, the way we run it. They might be equipped to stop it. But we actually want Ohio State to beat Indiana. As lame as that sounds, we want Indiana to lose.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I always want to see Ohio State lose.
So do I.
And again, I've expressed my dislike for Kirk Herbstreit. I mean, even when they were breaking it down the other day on College Game Day, and I'll pull that up. Then we'll get into Minnesota. We may as well not even talk Minnesota, man. There's just too much going on. But it was College Game Day. They broke it down. They broke down basically the situation with when did I send that to you?
What?
Oh, right here. Okay. Shut up. Shoot. Hold on.
and start from scratch and sort of show you how this is going to work. Now, the first thing you need to know, the quarterfinal round, that's only the 4 highest ranked conference champions. Which means the winner of the conference championship game. If you don't win your conference championship game, you cannot advance to the quarterfinals with a bye. So the highest ranked conference champion would be seeded number 1. Then the second highest ranked conference champion, regardless of where they're ranked, will be seeded number 2, and also the same for 3 and 4, the third highest ranked conference champion and the 4th highest ranked conference champion. Now, as you look at the college football playoff rankings over here and all of the teams that you're dealing with, you also have one more automatic bid to get in. So let's go down the rankings and find the next highest ranked conference champion. You see all of the Big Ten teams. You see a team from the Big 12 they're already in. You would get down to Boise State. Now, Boise State then would go in and get the placeholder as the 12th seed, even though they are ranked 13th. So here are the teams that would be in there at the moment. Oregon, we're not predicting that they're going to win it. They're the highest ranked Big Ten team. We're saying if they win the Big Ten championship, then you'd have Miami from the ACC, BYU's Big 12, Texas would be the 2 seed in the SEC.
I think that we came up with this idea just because I think a lot of people are confused.
Yeah.
And I think you did we continue to try to do the best job we can in explaining this. But I think the rankings and the seedings create confusion.
Right.
These are placeholders. These are not predictions. Ohio State very easily could be right here if they beat Oregon, if they go to the Big Ten championship. This could be SMU. It's the conference champion. We just put these because they're the highest ranked teams.
Yeah.
So for now, that's where they are.
Now, see, and also the thing that creates a little confusion, the second team out, SMU, we're fully aware that even though the selection committee has Miami ranked ahead of them in the ACC standings, they lead because they were unbeaten. So I mentioned
so this is ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and the SEC. As we sit here right now, and we have Boise who will eventually get in.
Right, and Boise would be the champions of the Mountain West. This, again, just a placeholder to show you how it would look. And this would put Boise in the 12th seed because they're ranked 13th. Now, the one thing to point out and to remember, if Boise State were to be ranked higher by the selection committee than one of these other 4 champions, they would go here and the other champion would go there. So it doesn't mean the group of 5 champion is automatically the 12th.
Or if that 13 were a 7,
they're seeded 7.
They're a 7. Or if that 13 were a 19, they would still get in at 12 because they're the highest of the group of 5 conference champ. If they got upset tonight, lost a game, Army becomes a team maybe coming out of the American that could potentially, or Tulane.
Right.
Somebody from the smaller conferences has to be in here. More than likely, they'll be the 12 seed. And in this case, the 12 highest ranked team, Georgia, gets knocked out because you have to get the group of 5 champion in. So that's how we get that.
Let's fill out the rest of it and try to clear out why the numbers are a little bit different here, okay? So Ohio State is ranked number 2, but they're not a conference champion. They can't be.
These are all saved for the conference champs.
5, Ohio State goes there. Next, you have Penn State because Texas is already in as a conference champion.
Don't be confused by the 4. That's where they're ranked, but they're not a conference champion. They can't be one of the 4 teams.
Also means Ohio State, Penn State, home game, another Big Ten home game.
Another Big Ten team. And now we're just stacking rankings. Once you get the conference champions and you get Boise, now you just start stacking
based on
order.
this.
5 and 6 and 7 and 8. You just start going down the line.
Tennessee would go in. They would have a home game against Notre Dame.
Brett.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Ohio State.
Yeah, I try not to. I actually sleep with a Ohio State pillow.
Right there. Ohio State. Do not forget about Ohio State. Kirk Herbstreit said, don't forget about them. So we can't.
I live and dream and breathe Ohio State.
I mean, Kirk Herbstreit, like, Ohio State fans were complaining, I'm sure, because that's what they do. They're totally delusional. And there was an ad there for single Ukrainian women, if anybody's interested. So just go to that link.
Nobody's complaining more right now than the SEC conference. Like all of them, they're just complaining. Don't lose your games. Don't lose them.
Kirk is so totally biased towards Ohio State. It's not even funny. But yeah. So I mean, he said like 3-4 times in that short 4-minute video, like Ohio State this, Ohio State that. It's like, yes, Kirk, we know. It's not like we're gonna forget. And be like, oh crap, we forgot about Ohio State. We got to put them in there. Like, they're not going to forget. Now, I hope Indiana beats Ohio State. Beats Ohio State because it's Ohio State. But it is better for us if Ohio State beats them because what most likely happens is I do think that if Ohio State plays Oregon in the title game, I think Oregon will win. I do think that. And I just want to see them be shut up since we can't do it. I hope.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, man. If our worst nightmare is if we run into Ohio State again, because we're definitely going to lose again. I'd say I don't know why we wouldn't. Now, like you said, I think Kotelnicki might have learned some lessons and might do some things differently. But I do think that
it was such a winnable game. It was so winnable, and he messed up. I mean,
it was. But overall, right now, what we're looking at is pretty much we could end up getting into a favorable spot, meaning we play like Colorado or BYU, and then we run into Boise State. I mean, that could happen as a 5th seed, and we could be the 5th seed, because I think if Ohio State loses to Oregon, that's a 2-loss game, and I don't think they're getting in over us in terms of ranking. I think they'll be below us, but, you know, that could easily not happen, because it never goes in our favor for sure. But so that's kind of what we're looking at with that. But Brett, we got Minnesota at home, or Minnesota is at home. We got Penn State is away. So we're at Minnesota. -12.5 is the spread, and you know, it's going to be an interesting game. I think we'll be okay. I think we win this game. But just looking at it overall, so we got Penn State -11.5. Okay, we were 12.5. Over under 45.5. I don't know how it's not larger than 11.5. But
they have a good defense, and it's at their house. That's the only. If it was at our house, it'd be a 20-point spread.
And then you had Booger McFarland this past Tuesday. He was heavily defending Indiana and the fact that, you know, they blew out UCLA, I think, and we struggled against UCLA, which we did. We looked terrible against them. And then, you know, Indiana, like, blew them out. So they should be higher than us. But it's still Indiana, man, and the committee's going to recognize them as Indiana, rightfully so. So pretty much right now, Brett, we got us, I think, winning this weekend. I'll give my score prediction, but I think we're going to win. We got a 74.9% chance of winning. Aller has better numbers. Pretty much, they're kind of similar, but Aller's numbers are a little better in terms of touchdowns. Taylor has 9 touchdowns for Minnesota. Jackson has 3 TDs. Tyler Warren is our best receiver at tight end. So, you know, I think Penn State wins. I think they win convincingly. I don't really care what Minnesota is going to bring. They're not that good, and it's not to take anything away from them, but I just think that we're definitely going to win this game. By how much? We'll see. I think we cover the spread. I think we put up some points. I think we win pretty convincingly. And, you know, we come out of there with a win, and then we go into Maryland next week at home for senior night, senior week, whatever. Senior day, and win that game too, and then we're looking at the playoffs. So we're not going to be in the title game unless something drastic happens. So we're pretty much looking at Ohio State beating Indiana this week, and then if Ohio State goes to the title game again, I think they lose, which means I think we'll end up jumping them. Even though they beat us, I think we're gonna jump them in the rankings if they lose to Oregon.
So,
but either
if Ohio State, if they beat Indiana and lose to Michigan, we go to the chip. Is how it works. So we even still have a chance to go to the Big Ten title game. It's not out of. I mean, Michigan's Michigan, but I mean they've been kryptonite for Ohio State, regardless of what's going on. So hey, there's a way they could win, but probably not. So
I think the game is at Ohio State, right?
Yeah, it's in Columbus.
All right, so. Pretty much, I think the best we're going to end up doing no matter what is the 6th seed, because Indiana's not jumping us, especially if they lose to Ohio State. If Indiana loses to Ohio State, I don't know if they get into the championship game, or I'm sorry, into the playoff for a shot at the national championship game. So I think if they lose this weekend, I think they're just about out.
If it's
Maybe not.
if it's close, they'll probably still go. If they get their doors punched in, then yeah, they probably won't go. But if they keep it close, I think they'll still go.
But I've also heard several people say that they think Indiana's going to win, and they can. And there's a good chance that they can. But realistically, I think what we're looking at is the best we can do is a 6 seed. But who we run into is kind of up in the air right now. We could run into Notre Dame. We could run into Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss. We could run into Alabama. But I think either way, we're hosting a home playoff game. And the best we can hope for, man, is that we get a 5th seed. And then we run into the Big 12 champion. And then we run into Boise State. Because I think that's going to pretty much remain the same. So that's pretty much what we're looking at there. But this game, I think we can make a statement if we win convincingly on the road. Minnesota, I mean, we won convincingly on the road against Purdue, scored more points than Ohio State, and that I think that's got to mean something. So at the end of the day, Brett, what do you think happens with Minnesota?
So Minnesota has one good offensive tackle. The rest of their line is pretty not good. They can't run the ball like usual Minnesota can. Right now they're running the ball. They're like 3 point something per carry is what and we're doing over 5. So we can run the ball better. They're struggling. I think Abdul Carter, this is a game for him to get after it. He might go up against their good offensive lineman on some reps, but Abdul he's hot right now, man. He's in his stride. So I think he'll, if anything, maybe he'll get a holding call this week. Maybe he'll do it. I mean, I wouldn't put it on my agenda because they don't call holds on him, but maybe he'll get one. They have to call holds, man. They were like 3 or 4 last game. It was atrocious.
Easily.
No, it was terrible. So Abdul Carter being held the whole game the last 2 weeks, really. But yeah, I think for Penn State side of things on offense, you have to start the game out. Don't try giving it to Warren right away because they're going to expect it. Give it to Wallace, give it to Clifford, give it to somebody else because they're not going to expect that. Kind of like you did against Washington. You threw it right to Wallace to start the game. You got him confident. You got him going. Because we're going to need the receivers down the stretch. Tyler Warren can do everything, but at some point, it's not going to work because it's going to be so obvious. You know what I'm saying? So
you play a good team, they're going to go right at like Alabama, Georgia, well-coached team. Like they're not beaten.
Yeah, Ohio State double teamed him most of the game, so they took him out for like the first half, and they had a good game plan against him. And Ohio State is a really good defense, so I mean, we can't let that happen. So we need to get the receivers going. Got to get the run game going. Obviously, still use Tyler Warren. He's obviously going to be Wildcat QB, and that's unstoppable. When he's in Wildcat running the ball, he gets probably at least 5 yards every time. Like it's unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? So like they're going to do that. Just pound the ball down their throat, push their defensive line around, which I don't think the defensive line's nothing crazy. They have true freshman safety at Minnesota. He's got 5 interceptions. I mean, some of those are kind of luck, but some of them he made plays. So got to watch out for their back end safety play. It's pretty good. I think our defense can feast on their offense. Brosmer, like you said, his numbers are pretty good, man. Like for a Minnesota quarterback, that's probably the best guy they've had as of recent in the last couple of years. And he's a transfer from New Hampshire, so really random. But if you get pressure on him, he's one of the worst QBs pressured. Like statistically, I was seeing it on PFF. But if he has a clean pocket, he'll throw some passes on us. And but I already see that happening anyways. They have a good receiver, Jackson. He's got like 700 yards already and a couple touchdowns. So that's somebody to watch out for. They're going to get theirs, but like we're a bend don't break defense. We'll give up a few yards, but right now we're still 3rd or 4th in the country on defense on yards per game, and we're 6th in points per game. I sent you that earlier. That's an updated one. So we're top 6 on points per game and top 3 or 4 in yards per game. So defense is still elite, man. I think we're making strides. Our linebacker play, tackling-wise, has to be a little bit better. Tony Rojas, I think, is playing injured, to be honest with you, man, from what I've heard. Tangwell was saying that. He thinks he might be injured a little bit, a little bumped up. So he's there to make the play, but then whenever he tries to make the play, he's just missing stupid tackles, man, that you shouldn't miss. But you're a true sophomore. You got time to get going. You already know Kobe King has been feasting. He's looked great. But Kobe King can't do everything. You need Tony Rojas to step up a little bit, maybe get an interception. That's one thing we need today, this weekend. We haven't had a turnover since Washington we had the interception, but we haven't really gotten any fumbles. We need like a strip sack, or we got to get the turnovers going, because that's something we used to feast on last year, and it's something we haven't done as good of a job this year. We've still been good, but we could be better. And Franklin even said that. He knows. So yeah, I think we're gonna win. It is a sneaky spot to go. It's not the easiest place to play, but Drew on the road has just been phenomenal. Like, you wouldn't even know that he's on the road. You know what I'm saying? Drew plays. Another fun fact: if we beat Minnesota at their house, this will be the first year since having Franklin that we didn't have a road loss. Think about it. So if we beat them, because USC was the closest one, overtime, we got the dub. So, yeah, Drew's been comfortable on the road. That doesn't faze him. He's one of the most confident quarterbacks in the country, like he says, man. He really is. He'll talk his smack. That play he made last week, that run to the outside, he broke 2 tackles. He was talking his smack. He looked like Josh Allen out there, man. That run specifically was Josh Allen-esque. So he's got to keep that up. He's been really good with his feet, getting out of the pocket, and he's only taken 9 sacks this year. That's really good. 9 sacks after 9 games. Guess how many sacks Brosmer at Minnesota's been taking this year? He's taken like 22 or 23 sacks this year. That's more than double the amount of sacks. So we got to get after it.
Yeah, real quick, the picture in the top left, made it a little bigger. QR code's there, but it's a hurricane relief aid. Help of Victory Sports, the gym. I'm actually wearing the shirt right now.
Nice.
Support our friends at Five Stones Ministry, build homes for North Carolina hurricane victims. I mean, that is still lingering, the after effects of the hurricanes. I mean, there's people, it's going to be wintertime. Some people don't have homes. Some people don't, they're living in tents. I mean, they're building homes for people. They're feeding them. They're just taking care of people. So if you donate, just put the Victory Sports note in there so that they know it's coming from a viewer of this podcast or someone who supports Victory Sports in State College. But yeah, go to that hurricane relief picture, scan the QR code, or go to their website to do that. So that's a important thing, and definitely appreciate that for sure. Mm-hmm. So, but Brett, those are some good numbers you threw out there. Yes, they need to call some holding penalties on Abdul Carter, or for Abdul Carter, I should say, because he's held all the time. I mean, it's like TJ Watt. TJ Watt, literally, he has to have probably the strongest neck in the world, because he literally has tree trunk arms wrapped around his head every freaking game, and they're just like, I didn't see that. And then Myles Garrett, he's swinging his helmet at a quarterback, nearly killing people, and they're like, oh, that's fine. Yep. Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, good points. I think we win. I have for me personally, I have no doubt that we're gonna go in there and win convincingly, dominate this team. We're just better. Yeah, we're better. And we got Steelers Browns tonight, so we're gonna be watching that too. But my score prediction, I think we go in there, and like you just said about Drew Aller being confident, they're 4-0 on the road since 2011. Well, technically now they're 5 because they won last week, but I think they're 5-0 on the road now. First time since 2011, since I was a freshman in college, and it's huge. I think we win pretty convincingly. I think we win like 38-10, if not more. I don't know if Minnesota's going to put up many points. Every time I say that, someone does put up points, but I think our defense is going to do well. I mean, this is not an easy win, but I think we win convincingly. So it's going to be like 38-10 for me, maybe 42-10. We put up some style points. We shut up the Minnesota supporters. And then, I think style points mean something right now, and I think they should go for style points every single week.
Mm-hmm.
So tonight I predict that score. We beat Minnesota, we beat Maryland, and then pretty much it's out of our hands because we didn't beat Ohio State. So I think what happens then as well going forward is Indiana loses to Ohio State loses to Oregon, and then we probably get that 5 seed. Because I'm pretty confident Oregon will beat Ohio State. I don't care what people say. I think that's going to happen. I think Oregon is good. I think they're good enough to beat Ohio State again. Now, are they as good as people claim? No, but I think they still beat Ohio State in the title game.
Yeah.
I do think that happens. Dylan Gabriel, unless they run like prevent the whole game, I think he's going to dominate Ohio State. And then again, I think with Ohio State losing to Oregon twice, I think we jump them in the playoff picture. How can't we? I mean, they're obviously looking at losses, and I don't know if Ohio State gets in with 2 losses to Oregon. Because there's just too many other teams, man. I mean, you got Bama, you got Tennessee, you got Georgia.
But because their name's Ohio State, you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
So regardless, they're going to get in. And if you lose the number one team twice, it's a bad look because you had 2 chances to get over the hump there, but it kind of like it offsets like the second loss in a way because it's still number 1 team. You know what I mean? Not that it offsets it, but you know what I mean. It's a lesser. But my score prediction I didn't give one yet. This seems like a 30-14 game to me. You know what I mean? Kind of like that Illinois game last year. We won like 31-14 or something. Or 15, whatever it was. So I'm gonna do 30-14. That covers the spread. I just think our defensive line is gonna be too much for them, man. Max Brosmer's not gonna know what's coming. You know, he's gonna be seeing ghosts out there. So, I think we dominate in a good fashion. I think we start off fast again too. The last 2 games we scored on our first drive. I'm calling that again. We need that to happen this week. If that doesn't happen, then I'm not saying there's going to be an extreme amount of anxiety, but like then your defense has to make a stop, and we got to go out there and score points. So, I'm 30-14.
So okay, so we went out. Where do we end up in the playoff?
It's just hard because there's all the other games you would have to like predict and head-to-head, and that gets crazy. I think you said like a 6 seed. That's where we're at right now, right? I think that's where we're going to stay if we win out. We'll stay at probably 6. 6 is actually better. Actually, 5 is a better layout, isn't it, than 6? If we get the 5, I'm pretty sure.
No, 5 would be better. But
5 would be better, yeah.
All right, so
right now, anyway.
Go ahead, Brett. Give your top 12 if we win out.
Okay. I don't see BYU making it. I don't know. I think BYU's going to lose this weekend against Arizona State. Yeah, I see Arizona State beating BYU this weekend. Colorado's probably going to make it just because it's Deion Sanders, and they're playing much better than they have somewhat of an okay defense, but the Big 12 doesn't play defense, so they're playing teams that don't play defense. But so once they get to the playoff, they might get gutted. So we'll see. But Colorado, I think Ohio State still makes it. Alabama's probably going to make it. Notre Dame lost to FIU, but they'll probably still make it. Top 12. I'd have to see. It's weird how it's laid out. Like I said, if Indiana keeps it respectable with Ohio State, they're still going to make it because they play Purdue next week, and Purdue has no chance against Indiana. So there's that. Ole Miss, probably going to make it. It depends. Ole Miss has to play Florida this weekend, so there's just too many games, man, for me to predict it right now, to be honest with you. Florida looked good last week against LSU. with DJ Lagway, their 5-star QB, he was back. So if he plays good against Ole Miss could be an epic failure at the end of the season. Texas is they have a really weak schedule. The only team they beat so far was Vanderbilt, so not a good win. I mean, it was at the time it was a ranked win, but did you see Illinois is ranked again now? So it's technically still a ranked win for us. People were joking like, "Oh, look, they ranked Illinois just to make Penn State look better." It's like, no, they ranked Illinois because they're 7-3, and like they've been doing pretty good ever since we beat them. How about that?
Yeah. So Oregon again, but who wins the SEC title game? I don't think it's Texas. So you're gonna have like
Texas
Oregon.
No. It's gonna be Alabama.
I think they're gonna be Alabama 2, and then Miami 3, Boise State 4. I think no matter what, Boise State stays at 4. Then you got maybe Texas at 5. You got like Ohio State at 6. Well, I don't know. I don't know. So we'll say Texas 5, Penn State 6. Maybe like Ole Miss 7, Alabama 8, or Alabama like 8, Notre Dame 9, and then you got probably like Ohio State at 10, and then like I don't know, Colorado probably is in there.
Ohio State at 10.
If they lose to Ohio State, Oregon, yes, I think they'll.
I don't think they'll drop that far. You already know they won't. They won't drop
what,
that
8
far.
then?
7 or 8 probably. Yeah, that sounds about right. Maybe 9, but I don't see them going to 10. I just don't.
So you don't think they'll even if they lose to Oregon, we're not at 5, right? Well, see, that's the thing. If Texas loses to Alabama, they're clearly a fluke. So they might not even make it in because that'll be their second loss.
Yeah. The SEC is such a mess right now, dude. That's why I can't rank any of this right now. There's such a mess over there. Until after this weekend, it'll be an easier layout because there's some bigger games. But I really don't know. Like, and this is another thing. Miami, after they had a bye week last week, if they didn't clean some things up, SMU or Clemson can easily beat Miami. I don't put it past them. So SMU or Clemson could sneak in, and Miami might fall out. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Miami was ranked way too high to begin with. They lost to Georgia Tech, dumpster fire. They lost to Georgia Tech last year too, so that's just funny.
Yeah. All right, Brett. I have nothing else. I need to watch the Steelers game.
All right.
But yeah, donate to the Hurricane Relief link there. You can scan the QR code, like I said. We will see you guys for post game on Saturday. And hopefully, this is after a Penn State dub. It'll be a 3:30 game. Watch Ohio State, Indiana. That's at noon, big noon kickoff. Gus Johnston is going to be like wearing his Ohio State glasses that day for sure. But, Brett, if you have nothing else,
no,
we'll jump off. Go Steelers, go Penn State. See you Saturday after the win.
All right, we are.